can you help your kids to cope through a divorce? You may be feeling helpless in your current situation, but there's definitely so much you can do to help your kids to transition through this difficult time. Keep watching this video. I'm going to give you some critical thinking and some introspection that you need to do on your side, and some insights into how you can actually move forward so that the kids are in the forefront and they get to benefit overall. Hi, my name is Tish. I'm a certified life coach, a mom, entrepreneur, and an avid enthusiast of helping people transform their life and crush their goals. If you find this type of content useful, click the subscribe button or share it with a friend who can most certainly use it and benefit from it. So let's get straight into the video of how to help your kids to cope through divorce. Kids often feel right in the middle of their parents' divorce. It's because they are loyal to both and they love both parents. But let's be honest, by the time one person files, it's already not looking pretty. And we don't want our kids to get the ringside seat to this whole untidy process. So what can you do to help your kids to cope with this divorce? Let's get into the very first question that you gotta ask yourself. Question number 1. What strategy have you used in this whole process in relation to your kids when it comes to the divorce? Have you used the same strategy that you've been using to fight for the assets and all of the money in the divorce when it comes to your kids? Or have you actually humanized them through the whole process? It's a very tough question to ask ourselves. So here's a great exercise that can help you through this process to make sure that you've got your kids' best interest at heart. Write down all of the major decisions that you've had to take since the beginning of your divorce. And next to them, write down the percentage that that particular decision had to completely and solely benefit the child without necessarily having major influence from what your ex made you feel at that point in time. This will give you a good evaluation for you to see how much of the decisions that we make are solely for the benefit of our kids, and how much of the decisions are largely influenced by how we feel at that particular point in time about our ex. It's a great step to actually look at it, to evaluate it, and then maybe start making some different decisions or rectifying those that were not necessarily solely for the benefit of the kids. Not an easy process to do, but a critical one. The second question, how much exposure have you allowed your kids to experience through this divorce? Let me paint a little picture for you. So you're sitting at home and you receive a call from a friend or your lawyer, and you start talking about your ex. Now you start getting worked up and emotional about it, and you don't even realize your surroundings. You may look around and you don't necessarily see your kids near you, but you start speaking about it and you don't realize that they can actually hear you, but they do. Or maybe you might be thinking that they're sleeping, but they are awake, and trust me, walls are thin. Or here's a second scenario for me to paint for you. You've got a friend coming over to lend some support to you, and you start talking about what you're going through in this divorce. Obviously, you're not going to be painting a rosy picture. You're going to be sharing how you feel and how hurt you are, and chances are you're not going to be painting your ex in the best light. And your kids can hear this. That is the exposure I'm talking about. But I've got some insights here for you in terms of something that you can practice to help your kids to cope through this process. Find the space and the time to speak about the divorce outside of the home when you've got your kids with you. This practice will not only help you to eliminate the exposure from your kids so that they can start coping and dealing better with the divorce, but it'll also make you more focused inwards so that you're not constantly living and bringing the toxic energy into your home, into your space, and focus more on the family and the kids and building that security blanket that they need at this tumultuous time. The third burning question is, how much have you tried to influence your kids that choose you over your ex? This is a very difficult process. Yes, because you are so used to having your kids with you on a daily basis. Now things have shifted fundamentally, and you now need to share your kids and trust and believe that your ex will do just as good of a job as you do every day. The influence and the pressure only gives rise to guilt that the kids feel. Even if you do finally win, if there's a custody battle, it's a lose situation for the kid because they are riddled with so much guilt for the time that they're not able to spend with their other parent. So we have to take that into consideration every single time we're going to a custody battle. So here's something insightful that you can do. Go into your divorce agreement and look at the custody settlement. Review it with an open heart, not one that is still filled with emotions against your ex. But ask yourself this one question. Does this custody agreement benefit the kids? Does it give the kids enough exposure to the other parents so they can actually form a formidable relationship to also influence their future relationships when they're older? Take a look at it. Does it seem fair? Or were some decisions taken in the heat of the moment because you felt hurt at that particular point in time? You may not like your ex, but your kids love them. They need them to have flourishing relationships in their future. It's definitely not an easy thing to do, but allowing this process to take place can only benefit your kids, and they can help them to cope through the divorce. When they have unresolved feelings of guilt, now experiencing them on a daily basis, it becomes very difficult for them when they're adults to be able to resolve them, because they've been exposed to this every single day of their lives and not given the tools to be able to deal with it. And this is where you can really step up to help them cope with the divorce. Try it. The fourth burning question: how much stability have you created through this process of divorce for your children? This sounds easy to do, but in reality, when you are in the thick of things and you've got so many balls to juggle, you've got your life, you've got your family, you've got your kids, and basically you've got an adult on a daily basis, sometimes things can slip away from you. Creating stability at home during this time of divorce is very important. It will help the kids to cope with the divorce much better. Here are some few insights of what you can actually do to help to create that stability and that routine for your kids. Example number 1, have dinner with your kids on a daily basis in the evening. Set a particular time so that they can start knowing that even if you are not together anymore, but there's still a sense of family and belonging that you've created in your home. Example number 2, create a movie night or a game night on a Friday. That way there's always something to look forward to when the kids are with you. Third example, be consistent in checking their homework. And don't change your personality just to be extra nice so that you can get brownie points with them. But be firm when you need to, and they'll always appreciate that consistency that you are building in the home. That will definitely help them to cope better, because it will create that security that they need to cope through this divorce as they move forward with you. The fifth and final question is, how much can we say you have done to rise above your anger and the pettiness in response to what your ex is actually doing? When you are in a divorce, it feels like you are in a war, and sometimes we can unintentionally lose sight of prioritizing the kids through this entire process, because you're feeling attacked and you have to respond at times, but sometimes you're the one who gives a little bit more. Either way, there's definitely an opportunity here to help our kids to cope through this divorce. And this is by at least having one parent rise above all of this anger and this pettiness and being the better person. Here are 3 contentious examples and issues that usually come up. I've seen them play out over and over again. But if you get these right and rise above the feelings of anger, then you can most certainly help your kids cope with this divorce. Example number 1, allowing your ex to drop off your kids at your place versus in no man's land. Imagine how the kids feel being exchanged like a dirty transaction at a filling station or somewhere else in the streets. It is so much better if you can allow your ex, irrespective of how you feel about them, to drop your kids off at your home. If you're not ready to see them, have somebody else receive them, like your mother or a helper or a friend. That way you know that your kids are in a safe space. Example number 2, being able to pause and not react negatively to your ex in front of your kids. It doesn't matter how much you feel provoked or you feel like they're doing things intentionally to bring out the other side of you. It's important to pause and not to be able to show your kids that you are in a war, You can always take the issue up later, but definitely not in front of them. And the third and final example is not to interrogate the kids after they've come back from their ex, trying to fish out what is happening in that household that you can use against them. And it makes them feel guilty about sharing what's happening in the different homes and carrying the messages from one place to the other because they know what you're going to do with the information. It's always better not to know, unless of course your kids are in danger, but let them experience your ex the best way they possibly can, and vice versa. And those are the 5 critical questions that we've really got to ask ourselves, and apply some of the insights that I've shared here with you today so that we can help the kids to cope better with the divorce. It's definitely not an easy subject. It's a touchy one because it hits so close to home. However, if we have got the focus of being able to prioritize our kids, we can definitely start making a difference. If you found this type of content useful, click the subscribe button or share it with a friend who you know is going through the most at this point. It will definitely help them. Watch out for my next amazing videos. I've got great content coming your way.